Today I'm going to show you how I build birdhouses, a basic structure, and there's all different kinds of styles that I add. This one's got a 45-degree pitch, and I'll show you some others at the end of the video. And they have all different kinds of embellishments that make them unique, and I think that's what helps them sell the best. Now, they take a long time to make, so that has to be taken in consideration when you're selling them, and it depends also on where you're selling them and if you even have a market for them. So stay tuned. Typically I start with the face of the birdhouse, but in this case I've started with the roof, and it is layered or tiered so the water will shed off of it automatically, and this will all get finished with urethane so it'll protect it, and then I wax it also. So now I'm putting on a side, and it's going to emulate the shape of that tier, so I'll be cutting those pieces out next. I learned the hard way that just making a straight 45-degree angle made a real mess, or just unbelievable amount of additional time to put this thing together with gaps and things like that. So I ended up going with this idea of sketching out and drawing exactly what the shape of the roof was. wood I used in this particular birdhouse is pine, so it will need a very good coat of urethane and then wax to keep it safe for outside use. A lot of people like to stick them under their porches, covered decks, things like that, so they stay dry and relatively protected. But I wanted to have this visible so you could see the birds raising their little families. So I put plexiglass, not glass, for safety reasons. I put plexiglass on the other sides to let the viewer see inside of this particular birdhouse. So the plexiglass needs to slide down so it's butting up against the roof. So I had to take a little chunk out of the lowest roof section, which I'm doing now with a chisel. And now I have to be very careful with chisels because they're very sharp. Anyway, I'm pulling out just enough to slide that plexi underneath, as you can see. And the other side didn't need this done. Here I'm drilling the holes for the screws so the bottom is removable. Obviously you want to get in there and clean it out every year, wipe down the plexiglass so you can see in again. And these are just pre-drilled so I don't have splits or cracks in the wood. So now I'm putting on a hole saw, and I think it's about 1.1 or something like that, and I'm drilling the front of obviously the bird entrance. I should have done it on my drill press before I even assembled everything, but I'm not really sure where it goes in the end, and I really like to see it as a whole. Sometimes I drill them before on the drill press, other times I don't. Some of the birdhouse faces I use have designs in them, and that really dictates where I put that hole. Now here I'm just sanding, and I'm using a 220 just to soften up the edges of the hole entrance, but I also sand the inside. Now that's a piece of bamboo that I'm going to add. That'll be a little protectant for the entrance hole as well as a perch for the bird to sit on. This small section of bamboo ring is it protects the hole, and it also allows the bird a place to sit, look around, and then jump inside their home. And obviously safety is important for a little bird, any kind of bird. There are predators out there that may want to take advantage of their home. So if you live in an area, by the way, if there are snakes, you want to keep it elevated so a snake can't get in there because, you know, they're predators. It's all these little pieces, in this case battens for that board and batten look, that take a lot of time to create. I cut each one obviously individually and then I sand each one, so there's a lot of sanding involved. But the time involved in making these things really adds to, in my end, the details, the looks, and the sale. This piece I'm cutting here is going to be molding on the front part and in the back part of the birdhouse. I always add molding to give it that finished look. But I'm struggling here with this piece of oak because, you know, oak is a very hard wood, and a pull saw, well, it doesn't always work. I think I ended up switching to using the bandsaw in the end. When positioning these battens, I had to be careful not to glue them to the bottom of the birdhouse, which needs to be removed. Sometimes I use wood glue to attach these pieces. Other times I'll use glue that is a hot glue, and it is made for attaching and putting together boats. So that glue is really strong and very expensive. If anybody knows or wants to know where I get that glue, just put it in the comment and I'd be glad to share that information with you. But that glue it's costly, but it's unbelievably strong. And it's waterproof, so it's perfect for this application. So after thinking about the birdhouse, I decided to give it some more contrast and depth. So I'm getting ready right now to put the stain on. It's a dark walnut, and I'm going to do it on the boards and leave the battens their natural color. But they will darken up, as you'll see, when I put the urethane on. It's called a clear shield. It's really meant, the urethane, it's meant for being outside, which is probably what people will use these birdhouses for. And after that, I'll put a wax on it. After I get a certain point with a birdhouse that I'm creating, I decide if it needs something more, and I decided I had this sheet of copper that I would put on the ridge. And if it is left outside, it will, yes, help protect the birdhouse, but it will also patina and become like a bluish, greenish, I don't know, turquoisey looking color. It's really pretty how it ends up with the patina on it, so I thought that would be a very nice element. And what I also do is I hammer it, I sand it to give it more tooth, more texture, more interesting appeal. Now these edges of this copper are very sharp, so what I do is I bend over the edges. You can see I'm hammering the edge maybe 1/8 of an inch, between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch in to smooth those out. So if you do rub your hand against it, you're not going to get cut. After softening the edges, I try to find the center of the copper piece and fold it to match the pitch of the roof. And then I try to shape it so it sits flat. But then I attach it with some little brad nails, as you'll see. Here I'm using some of that marine glue that is amazingly strong, so it will really hold that on. In any event, I'm still going to use some brad nails, as you see right there, to just attach the edges and just keep it more secure. I guess by looking at all this hammering, you can probably tell that the birdhouse is pretty strong and will hold up well. Clear shield urethane will go on now and seal everything. It also darkens it up and adds a nice color to it, brings out the color of the wood. So it, I don't know, I like the way it looks. Also, not so dry and not so blonde, so it does give it some more depth to the wood itself. So once this all dries, I'll come back with this micro crystalline wax and beeswax mixed with mineral spirits that I made, and put it on this thing to make sure it really repels water. The last stage of the process is sanding and then waxing. This is a completed board and batten style birdhouse with these see-through sides to view the little birds having their babies. Hope you enjoyed it. Next I'm going to talk about birdhouses that I'm going to make in the future. Here I'm showing you two different faces for birdhouses that are going to be shown in an upcoming video. They come from crepe myrtle knot. They're book matched, joined together. I like the irregular hole. That will be the entrance hole for the bird. And you can see that I've resined the areas that were open to seal that off, so the colors work really well. Once that is urethaned, it will really pop out nicely. If you want to see that upcoming video, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell button for notifications. And finally, here are some birdhouses that I've made in the past. You can see how unusual they are. They have different peaks, different angles, different materials. The price you get on these is really relevant to your time and the material that you use to create them.